Good day and welcome to another episode of Bucket List Living with Brad Norwood. I'm your host, Brad Norwood, and with me today, an incredible guy in leadership. We've had a power team of leaders join the podcast throughout these 15, 16 episodes. We hit another one today with a boom and a bam, baby. A CEO, the leader, co-founder of Powerhome Solar, Ben Brookhart. Thanks for joining me, my friend.
Oh, hey, Brad. Glad to be on here. And just a correction, not the CEO. That's left for Mr. Jason Waller, who I call the solar savior, but I am the CSO, Chief Sales Officer.
That's correct.
And co-founder of Powerhome Solar. But no, glad to be on, man.
Well, I'm glad to have you, honored to have you. And thanks most of all, a busy guy like you, for giving us your most precious asset, and that's your time. So thank you so much for doing that.
Yes, sir.
Ben, let's get started. You know, when you and I connected, we connected through the wonderful source that is LinkedIn, and found you because you're an incentive guy. You're a believer in incentive travel, and actually connected with you when you were on a trip with your team out to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. Talk to me a little bit about incentive travel and how that's always worked in your business.
You know, I learned a long time ago from a mentor of mine that you always have to take care of your sales team first. Any team that you're at, if you're in a business, if you're a leader, any team you manage, you've always got to show them some appreciation, because we live in a very competitive world. And whatever business you're in, the one thing you need to realize is there's always someone that can pay more than what you're paying. And if you really, truly want to separate yourself from the competition and make people feel great about what they're doing and have a culture that just breeds loyalty and trust, you got to be able to take care of them. You got to show them some love. And that's where incentive programs come in. And it's definitely not about a check that you can write. You know, money's important. Everybody needs it. Everybody appreciates it. But what I've found in my experience is when you give somebody, you know, a bonus check, they get that bonus check, and what do they do with it? They spend it on a bill. They never, ever, rarely, ever spend that on themselves or their family or their wives or significant other. It usually just goes into a checking account and it pays a bill. There's nothing that stands out like, man, they earned that and they did something with it. So I like to take those opportunities, and there's always a little cash mix into the deal, but the main focus on the incentives that I've always found success is some type of trip or time with you, whether maybe it's a dinner with the leader of your team or the CEO or whoever it may be, and creating an atmosphere where people, they're like, man, I want to win that because I want to spend time with that person, or I want to be with all the top performers and pick their brain and learn from them and take those experiences and make them memorable, because an experience versus a check is two very different things. And just been blessed to do a lot of great things with the teams that I've led, and have a lot of people join my team that we still talk about trips that we went on. Like, the memories pop up on Facebook, and I still get messages from reps that used to work with me that have moved on and maybe started their own business, and they shoot me a text, man, dude, that was the best trip ever. They're not talking about I made $50,000 that month. They send me the picture of the trip where we're all together with our spouses or significant others.
Yeah, isn't that an amazing deal? One of my lines that I tell people all the time is, when's the last time you've seen somebody post a picture of a bonus check or deposit, now in the out of the check world that we're in, but when's the last time you've seen somebody post a picture of their bonus check on social media? Never. Yeah. Right? But you take them on a trip or give them that experience, even if it's just out to a nice steak dinner, they always post it, right? And it's like you said, that memory comes back years and years and years later.
Yeah. You know, one of the things that I heard a lot is when we did those incentives, and we still do them now with Powerhome Solar, is the spouses would always tell the employee, like, man, that was really cool. It really felt like they really truly care about us because they're spending time with us. And it's not just about, hey, here's a check, but it's like you get to know people, you know, their kids and what's going on in their lives. And That's the culture that you're building. It can't just be about go make sales, go hit your number. It's got to be about you truly care about these people. And an incentive and reward program forces you to really get to know your team and allow them to have that feeling of appreciation.
Yeah. So, Ben, within all that, answer this mythical question for me. I hear a lot of CEOs and executives that I meet with, sales directors, they say, they don't want to spend time with me. Answer that for me. Is that true? Is there any truth to that? They don't want to spend time. The little sales reps, not to be demeaning by any point, they don't want to spend time with me, the CEO, the CFO. Is that true?
Not true in my world. So I would say if you're hearing that, you might want to take a step back and maybe look at yourself like, well, am I making them feel a certain way? Am I making them feel uncomfortable? Maybe do I make them feel like they're beneath me type of thing? Like those are some questions you got to ask yourself as a leader. You never want your team to feel like you are better than them, right? I mean, just because you have a position or a title and maybe you've worked your butt off to get to where you are, doesn't mean you make the people below you feel small. Like you've got to make them feel important. And entitlement, not in my world. I can't stand entitlement. I want people to, work hard for what they have and not just ask for something because they feel like they deserve it. But you got to make people feel like, treat people the way you want to be treated. That's the rule that I've always followed. So if people are saying they don't want to spend time, give them a reason to spend time with you. Make it fun. Do something that you would want to do, that you would get excited about, and invite them to it. I can guarantee you, every trip we ever went on, every reward I ever gave, I can tell you one thing, I enjoyed it too. And that's a big part of it.
Absolutely. Yeah, you always have the one or two people in a group that say, well, I'd rather have gone here than there. And so while it is important to ask your people what they would like to do, you as the leader have got to enjoy it to be able to show them your true values and your personality, right?
Yeah, 100%. There's a lot of people out there, Brad, that say, man, well, we don't really have a big budget to go on a trip to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, or whatever the case may be. Doesn't always have to be a trip. One of the most affordable incentive programs that you can do is some swag. And man, like my new team here at Powerhome Solar, they call me the swag master because I love some swag. But I don't just, and swag is, logoed hats and shirts and koozies and stuff like that. Beach towels, that was something that we just did. But swag is cool because it makes people feel like, all right, well, I'm representing the company. But what I like to do is I like to make it special. So every month, our top producers who have double-digit sales. So you may be a top producer, but if you were a single digit, like if you sold 9 solar systems, you might be the top rep in your district, but if you didn't hit 10, you don't get swag. But if you hit 10 and you're double digit, all of those top producers, each month, I design a special swag for them. They get a special hat. They get a special shirt. They might get something else, koozie, beach towel, whatever the case may be. And it's just for that month. So when they're walking around, everybody's like, oh man, that's an awesome hat. Or like, where can I get that shirt? You can't get it. I earned it. This was special. And I mean, hats, shirts, come on, everybody can afford to do something like that. And it makes them feel special because they have something no one else can get that they earned. And it goes a long way. And they wait for that package. If I'm late on some of these deliveries, I'll get a text message. Hey, man, have you sent out that swag yet? Like they're waiting for it in the mail. And then when they get it, a lot of the guys and gals on our team, they'll take a picture. They post it on social media. And then what does that do? Now it's like, oh, man, that company's really cool. Like they're doing all of these things. I'd like to work for them. So now it becomes a recruiting thing as well. So huge opportunity for every business owner and every team.
Yeah. And a lot of the time, some of the pushback we get when we're doing incentive travel too is, well, we don't want to create too much competition. Because the top leader is always going to be the top guy and the bottom guy is always going to be the bottom guy. While we get that, your idea of the monthly, double digit and swag or whatever gift it might be is a phenomenal idea. because maybe a guy sold 20, but the guy that got 10 is still in that same grouping with him, right? It's just a double-digit grouping. I love how you do that. That still, you still keep the competition intact, but you don't divide your top from your bottom. You put the elite all in one class, and I commend you for that. That's an amazing job.
Yeah.
So, Ben, we've talked about winning with people, and you're a John Maxwell guy, and actually led the course. That's how we met face to face over the Zoom, is when you led the winning with people story. Talk about first. Let's back up just a minute. I want you to talk about your leadership in your business. Tell us about Powerhome Solar, what it is, and then I want you to talk about. We're going to get into your leadership role as the CSO.
Sure. So my history is I've been in the home security business for 25 years of my life. And I had a company called Powerhome Technologies. And I had a couple business partners in that. We sold that business and started Powerhome Solar 5 years ago. And I still stayed on as the CEO of Powerhome Technologies because of an employment agreement. And the partners that were part of that group went and really took Powerhome Solar and got it launched. And I was not part of that at that time. But after my employment agreement ended last year, I decided that, look, it's time for me to do something different. It's the next chapter of my life. I no longer wanted to be in the home security business. Been there, done that. A lot of great people, a lot of great opportunities, lots of success. I loved every minute, but it was time to do something different. So I thought back to the solar business that I had helped start and co-found 5.5 years ago. And I reached out to Kevin and Jason, who were the owners of that company, and told them what I wanted to do. And so we got together and they're like, Ben, we have a void in leadership at a high level at our sales team, and we'd love for you to come on board and really run that whole division. And, just being 100% honest and transparent with you, I've always been kind of the alpha, the leader. And Jason Waller's the CEO of Powerhome Solar. And he's the alpha and he's the leader. And so I really had to go into that transition and be okay with kind of being a right-hand man, a number 2 guy, which I've never really been in my entire life in business. And that was a huge ego check for me. And it was a big struggle whether or not I could do it. But, I prayed about it. I talked with my wife and just said, you know what? I'm going to put the ego aside and I'm going to be the best number 2 guy there's ever been. And I'm going to lead this team like they've never been led before. And I'm going to go in here and we're just going to have fun and we're going to crush it. And that's the attitude that I went into it. And it's been a fun ride and we are absolutely crushing it. This sales team that I was able to come in and really just kind of take over. Number one, there were some great leaders there that really just they weren't allowed to, well, I don't want to say allowed, but they weren't given the opportunity to be empowered to really lead and make decisions and have somebody encourage them and build them up and give them the tools that they needed to go out there to be successful. Not just the sales leads, because those are there, but leadership mentality is really what they were starving for. And Jason and Kevin, had just been so busy with other things that they felt like we just feed these guys leads, this thing's going to grow. And it was growing, but not at the level that it could grow because they were starving for the incentives, the recognition, the management of how we can get to the next level, and really a vision and a plan. Every salesperson wants to know that they have the ability to advance to the next level. And if you don't give them that vision of how they get there, man, they're going to find it with somebody else, or they're going to give you just enough. And so we've been able to take this sales team to the next level. Awesome team. Love it. Having a lot of fun. And the solar industry, let me tell you, it is a roller coaster right now. And it's like this roller coaster that just keeps going up and up and at a speed like you could never imagine. And I don't see any drop off anytime soon.
So, Ben, you're a great follow on all forms of social media. If you're not following him, we'll get you Ben's contact at the end of this so you can follow him on social media. But you literally are one of the best leaders that I know, simply because you go hand in hand with your people. I mean, man, before all the COVID stuff came down, I saw you in January and February. You're walking through neighborhoods in St. Louis,
In
and
snow.
it's snowing, and I got cold watching you, brother.
Yeah.
But tell me, and those listening and watching, solar to me, if I didn't know you, Ben, I wouldn't know about solar. Just dead honest. And so tell those that are watching and listening, lead us through a knock on the door sales call that you give your training to your employees.
Sure. Before I do that, I do want to say one thing because I think it's important. You know, when I came into this organization, there was a lot of people who knew me, but there's more people who didn't know me. And so I felt like in order for me to earn the respect of the people that I'm leading, I have to get out there in the field with them and show them that I can bring something to you that's going to help you take your game to the next level as far as a sales perspective. Because this team, they've always been used to just getting leads every day. They've never been able to, go out there and have someone show them how to knock on a door and offer their product. So I went to every single district. That was the first thing I did. Got with the district manager, got with the sales team, and took them out in the field. And that's how I built, some of that trust component that every leader needs. You can't just sit behind a desk and say, go do this or you've got to be able to get out there and show them that you can stand side by side and do what you're asking them to do. Very crucial component for any leader, especially a new leader joining a new organization. That transition period is huge, and you've got to be able to do that. So I was able to, and it was an awesome experience. And I've never knocked doors in the snow before, but it was a snowstorm in St. Louis, but we went out there and did it. But to answer your question, so what do you do? Look, residential solar, and we do commercial too, but the majority of our business is residential. Solar is one of those things that everybody kind of has an idea of how it works, but there's still a lot of questions and uncertainty. And so what I love about solar and selling solar is it's really more of an educational type of sale where people have questions that you just get to answer, and you get to provide them with the information to allow them to really make an educated decision. Does this make sense for me? And if you have a southern facing roof on the back of your home, because a lot of HOAs frown on solar on the front of your house, but if you have a southern facing home, southeast, due south, or southwest on the back of your home, you are a perfect candidate for solar. So we would knock on your door. Hey, how you doing? My name's Ben. I'm with Powerhome Solar. Look, we've been doing some installations here in your neighborhood because that's what we do is we follow our customers. And you may have noticed our big trucks that say Powerhome Solar. You may have noticed some guys crawling up on the roof, putting panels on. And a lot of times customers, they have questions. The first question is, how much does solar cost, right? Yeah. And number two is, how does solar work? So unfortunately, I can't install any solar panels on your home today, but what I can do is just give you some information that would answer some of those questions, and then we can take it a step further if that's something that you're interested in. Can I send you some information? Now, I'll press pause at that point. We use a program that's called RepCard. RepCard is a virtual business card. So at this point, the customer is expecting me, when I say, can I send you some information or give you some information, they're expecting me to hand them a flyer or some type of brochure. So at this point, I would say, can I give you some information? And they're like, yeah, sure, no problem. Perfect. What number can I send it to? And then that's where I'm asking for their cell phone number. So I would go to my rep card. I would type in their cell phone, and I'd say, what was your name, sir? And you'd give me your name. And then I would hit send. So I would text them my business card, a short video message about information about my company. Perfect. So I just sent you that information that you were looking for. Now, the next question is, Brad, who's your power company? Who's your power company?
Ozark Electric here in Northwest
Ozark
Arkansas.
Electric. Okay. Now, does Ozark, do they mail you or email the power bill to you?
You have the option. I'm old school, so I get it in the mail. You
get it in the mail. Okay. You probably have that most recent bill over on your counter, right?
That's right. That's
perfect.
Right.
Well, Brad, if you could go grab that bill real quick, what I'd like to do is show you some things on your bill that I can show you some savings pretty quickly here. And then also that information will give our engineers an opportunity to build a proposal. So I can actually lay this whole thing out for you to show you not only how solar works, but not how much it costs, but how much it saves. Because my company has two rules. Number one, in order for me to come back and do a proposal for you, I have to be able to save you not hundreds, but thousands of dollars on your power bill. And the second thing, which is very important to our team, is there's no money out of pocket. This is a zero down program. So I'm not going to come back and say, hey, you got to write a check for $10,000 down type of thing. So if I can honor those two things, what would be the best time to come back and set an appointment? So that's what we do when we get out there and we talk to folks, is we're really just gathering their power bill to come back and put a full proposal together. The simplest way to explain how solar works is, let's say your average power bill is $200 a month with Ozark. We're going to take the same $200 a month that you spend with Ozark, and we're going to invest that into solar panels in your home, which you own, and you will eventually pay off and have zero power bill. But it's the same money. We're not creating a new bill. Instead of paying Ozark $200 a month, you're paying that to your solar panel payment, which you're paying down, which builds equity and does a lot of things for your home, increases the value. I mean, think about it. You go to sell your house and your power bill is 50% less than what your comparable neighbors selling their house for. Is that an advantage? Absolutely. So solar is just more of an educational process. And it's a lot of fun to sit down and talk to people. And when they ask questions, man, that's the best part, because now you're like, yes, they're really interested in owning their own power, cutting the power company from raising your rates every single year, and you have no control.
Yeah, that you've got my head spinning. I mean, we could sit and talk for hours and ask questions. I'm sure anybody listening right now has got questions about it too. It's a good time, Ben. How do they get a hold of you or your team? And I know you're limited to certain states, so share that information with us as well.
Sure. So right now we operate kind of Southeast, Midwest. We're South Carolina, North Carolina, Virginia, Pennsylvania, Ohio, Michigan, Indiana, Illinois, Missouri. We just opened up Tennessee. Huge market for us. And we're looking to potentially open up here in Georgia, Florida, and Texas sometime soon.
Love it. I love it.
Yeah, so if they want to reach out to me,
yeah.
you guys can get me on, Facebook, LinkedIn. It's Ben Brookhart. Hit me up on social media, and we'd love to be able to help you out, or if you know somebody. But really, not just to offer you solar for your home. We'd love to get you set up, but I'm looking for people that want to change their life. I'm looking for people that want to join a company where they're appreciated, where they have unlimited income, where they have an opportunity to make a life-changing decision for their family. We have reps that are earning $300,000 to $400,000 a year selling solar and saving customers thousands of dollars. This is not like, when you talk about that type of money, there's people who be like, oh, well, they're ripping customers off. No, we're saving customers thousands of dollars, and our reps are still earning that type of income. People say, well, what's the average rep make? Well, I'm not looking for average people. Average is, what do they say? Worst of the best and best of the worst, right? I mean, Who wants to be average? But no one should make less than, $150,000 a year working with us in the environment that we put you in and how we motivate you. So would love to sell you solar, but more important than that, I'd love to talk to you about a career opportunity.
Yeah, and look, if you're not looking for a career opportunity and you're listening to this, I still highly encourage you to connect and follow Ben. Again, just because of the leadership he displays. He's one of the people that I follow. He's true and authentic. You can see it if you're watching in the background. He's a true, authentic man of God. And I just love following you, love being connected with you, and love knowing you. So I appreciate that, Brad. And highly encourage anybody to follow along and connect. Ben, we're almost out of time. I want to respect your time. I've got to ask you, though, on a bucket list podcast, what's something that's still on your bucket list? And what are you going to be intentional about today?
Well, number one on my bucket list is Fiji, Okay.
All
Like my
right.
wife and I, we've got that, that little hut at the end of the dock overlooking the water with like the see-through floor right there. That's definitely on the bucket list for us to do. And what am I intentional about? Really is just be more intentional about everything that I do. We all get busy, and there's days at the end of the day, I'll come home and my wife will say, "What'd you do today?" And I'll be like, I did so much, but I can't even tell you like one thing I did. And those are the days that I think back like I was not intentional. I didn't write down what was important to me that day. I didn't write down what I accomplished that day. I didn't write down what I needed to focus more on. So really, I want to be more intentional about everything I'm doing every single day. If it's work related, be intentional about it. If it's family related, be intentional about it. So I don't know if that's the right answer you're looking for, but that's the answer that I think I need to focus more on, and really everybody should.
I love it. That's what we talk about in the bucket list life plan, is starting out with that intentionality. No matter what you're doing, make it intentional so that, like you just said, when you're done, you can write it down and say, I did this today, and you can always answer that question.
Yeah.
Ben, I want to thank you again for your time, man. It was great to have you on the show. Great to see you. I can't wait till I get out to Carolina and we get to hang out together, maybe do one of these trips together. Perhaps it's Fiji on the list, right? Maybe that's where Powerhome
There you
Solar
go.
needs to go
Hey,
next.
before we hang up, Brad, I think that like as people watch this podcast, why don't you tell everybody what you do and what makes you special with a bucket list? How can
Well,
you help some of these business owners that may be looking to do some things we've talked about?
you know, anybody that listened today would have thought that you and I teed this up. And if they go back and listen to some of the past episodes, I don't tee any of these up. I come in with no agenda. My only agenda for this podcast is to get first-class leaders, first-class people on the show, people that are living a bucket list life. And what I do, I sell incentive travel programs and promote bucket list living. And the bucket list life plan gives you 12 steps to walk into an incentive program. And so the acronym, My Bucket List, is actually a 12-step program that, just like Ben mentioned earlier in the show, if you can't afford a trip right now because of your budget, first of all, an effective incentive program will provide you for that budget, and I can show you how to do that. But if you think you can't afford it, let me walk you through the My Bucket List Life Plan that gives you 12 individual incentives for each one of your employees that you can then go back to and meet them in the middle. Maybe they have a hero that they want to meet, or they have a proud achievement that they're trying to get to. They want to move from a sales rep to a sales manager, right? You can meet them there if maybe they need to hit double digits 4 months in a row to do that. Whatever it is, but you'll know individually through the My Bucket List Life Plan what is personal and meaningful to each and every one of your employees. Now, hey, if you're a step ahead and you're like Ben and you know that it works, then I would love to help you plan your next trip. COVID has been a destroyer to our economy, especially in travel. But things are going to loosen up soon, and now is the time to start planning. Listen, these things take 6 months, usually at a minimum, to plan these trips. And so if you're looking at going anywhere in 2021, now is the time, because we've got to get your goals set. We've got to get the path aligned. The incentive has to make sense, and let me handle the destination for you, and we'll do all that. Ben, I appreciate you letting me do that. I don't like to plug myself on the show, but I appreciate that.
I know. I mean, everybody needs to understand what you do, because as a leader, I can tell you, Brad, that I know there's other leaders that may be watching this that they need some sales meeting content. They need a speaker to come in every now and then and talk about things that are totally away from their business, but really are about their business. And that's where I see a huge opportunity. And I've seen you do some Zoom calls. I've seen where you've went in and done some sales meetings for teams and talked about your 12-step process. And that's something that's available. If somebody wanted to reach out to you and say, Brad, can you come talk to my team? Can you do a Zoom call? You can do that?
Absolutely. We prefer to do these in person, but the pivot has had us going online. And in fact, I talked with a person yesterday, and I said, look, if this means so much to me that I am willing to travel to you for our first gathering and our last gathering, I'll come and meet you all in person. Then we'll do it on Zoom. Zoom's not the way it was designed to be, but it's the way we've got to live right now. But I believe in this program so much. It's not about the sell for me, Ben. I'm just like you, man. I'm in to empower others. And when you realize that your bucket list can actually apply to what you do intentionally every day, and it will empower your team, and I can come and show you how that's done. I'm willing to show up in person so that we can meet in a group or however we've got to do it right now. I'm willing to come to you for the first time and the last time right now until it's all back to normal. Man, when it gets back to normal, it's on my bucket list. Actually, I'm trying to accomplish it by the 30th or 31st of August. Probably not going to happen because of COVID, but I'm trying to speak to a group of 300 people and more. That was on my bucket list this year. We'll see if it happens.
Bam, that's awesome. Hey, happy anniversary to you and your wife today too, man. Appreciate you setting this up on your anniversary for us. And we could talk all day. I love this stuff.
We could. I know, man. We feed off each other, and you and your wife are coming up Monday, and happy anniversary to you all as well. I've got a class that I'm going to lead later this morning that I'm going to take off to go celebrate 15 lovely years with my bride. And hitting up Ruth's Chris tonight right here in Bentonville, Arkansas. It's not Jamaica or it's not Dominican Republic, but we're going to make the best of it.
I didn't know they had Ruth Chris in Bentonville, Arkansas.
They sure do. Next time you're tooling around Joplin, you get as far south as Joplin, just come on another hour and we'll go eat Ruth's Chris.
All right, my friend. That sounds awesome, man.
Hey,
appreciate
Ben,
you, Brad.
You bet. Man, I appreciate you. Thank you for all who have listened and watched. Don't forget to subscribe to my channel below, DreamIT Professional Events, Brad Norwood at DreamIT Pro. Remember, the bucket list life is a life worth living. Have a great day.
Bam.